So we've got ourselves a much longer ones gameplay than we normally do have, so I felt it would have been nice to go over what is essentially a beefier topic than what we're used to. Let's talk about some free agents that I think are quite notable, and I think you should keep an eye on at this point, a week removed after NHL Free Agency had started. Now I get that it hasn't been exactly a week, it's been like a week and a half, but we're in the point now in free agency where the news is starting to slow down. We've had a big clog up when it comes to trades, overall signings. The big thing that everybody else is focusing on are the prospects playing over in Europe, plus the free agents that are still on the market. So let's go over 5 free agents on the market that I think are still very capable of being NHL players and who could provide some very interesting little discussions for teams out there who are interested in their services. First off, it's Mike Hoffman. He is the best free agent still on the market on the forward side of things. We spoke about him yesterday. He's had 30 goals the most previous few seasons in the NHL with the Florida Panthers. I mean, he hit 29 last year, but he did that in 69 games, so he probably would have gotten 30 had he played 82. But what you're getting with Hoffman is a very lethal right side sniper on the power play, a left-handed shot who can absolutely lock it, load it, and wrist it. However, it's everything else that he does away from the puck, and when the puck isn't on his stick, that kind of brings a little bit of concern, and it's kind of why people are speculating he is still indeed a free agent at the time of this recording. But going over onto the next free agent that I think is quite notable, we have ourselves Mikhail Granlund of the Nashville Predators. He's a guy who was really good with the Minnesota Wild, especially in 2016-17, where he had 69 points in 81 games. The season after that, 67 points in 77 games, and then he got traded to Nashville, where with the Predators, what? They kind of just ruined him. Like, I don't even know what happened here. Granlund in the Predator system and Grenlin with the Wild were completely different players. And I get Kevin Fiala is good. He's been very, very productive over his past little bit as a Minnesota Wild player. But for Granlund, you're taking a look at this guy on the market and you're saying, darn, this guy's literally a year removed from what was 49 points in 63 games with Minnesota before he got traded. If there's a spark that still exists in Mikael Granlund, let's give him a shot, because this guy could be a very, very good point producer if things work out the way that they can. Next up, though, it's a name that we've mentioned a few times here on this YouTube channel, but Andreas Athanasiou. Speaking of guys that are indeed a year removed from pretty good success, Andreas Athanasiou is a year removed from getting 30 goals. He was a guy whom Red Wings fans were saying, you know what, if this guy comes in here in 2019-20, if he pots up 25, then awesome, that's a great player right there. Well, he wasn't really all that great in comparison to what he did when he got 30 goals, and now we spoke about this several times, but the trade over to Edmonton was a complete lose-lose for them. He didn't work out with McDavid. He's a free agent now. The second-round picks that Detroit got in return were used for some pretty good things, but now Andreas Athanasiou is indeed a guy on the market. If there's a team that wants to try to capitalize on this kind of player, a really fast, hard-nosed player who plays the best when the puck is on his stick and he's given a lane, then be my guest, because this kind of guy, if he works out, he definitely can be a very good point producer. Next up, though, it's Anthony Duclair. Again, we spoke about this before. He's an Ottawa Senators guy. He was in a weird spot because he got 40 points in 66 games last year, but he was representing himself in negotiations, and apparently he wanted a lot of money, and the Sens were in a position where they didn't want to give him the money because the money was going to be used and saved for guys like Stützle and Tkachuk and Brannstrom and Sanderson when they needed their contracts. So for Duclair, he wasn't really seen as a top guy going into the future, which is why he ended up becoming a free agent, but he's still out there on the market. This is a guy who was a very good point producer on the Ottawa Senators, so if any teams out there you want a nice point producer, hey, feel free to hit up Anthony Duclair. Finally, the last one we're talking about here today, and you know from the thumbnail, it is Josh Leivo. And yes, Leivo's been injured. He hasn't been the healthiest guy, but when he was in the lineup in 2019-20, he had 19 points in 36 games. Leivo is a very underrated shot, a guy who just knows how to play offense, and for some reason, this is the kind of guy who is still available on the market. If you have the opportunity to shell out some cheap bucks for a guy like Josh Leivo to play in your top 9, then man, I'm very much on board with that. He is a good player, and I'm very interested in seeing his whole NHL future. Hopefully the Vancouver Canucks bring him back. Personally speaking, I'd like to have that scoring touch of his brought back onto the roster, but that wraps up this little video over here. 5 free agents that I thought were notable, so we spoke about them here in this video today. Comment down below what you think if you enjoyed this video. That is Rose99, and bye.